Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, we're going to be checking in with former Congresswoman and board member of Consumer Quality Care to talk about the importance of access to healthcare and what are some of the big healthcare challenges that are on the horizon that we need to keep our eyes on. We'll have that conversation. Plus, I got to bring you some updates in this ongoing case surrounding the great tragedy of the brutality against Tyre Nichols. We're going to share with you some of the latest details as the fallout continues to happen in Memphis. And then later on, we're going to talk about some other things, some cultural things. Plus, I got a great piece for you for trends posted during the most. So stay with us. A lot to talk about in today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and happy Tuesday. Folks, we got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right in. First and foremost, I wanted to talk about what's happening on the healthcare front. Now, there are other issues, of course, that we certainly can discuss, but one of the big things that we often are not really privy on as much is what is going on with our healthcare system. And this is a mission that Consumer Quality Care has been on to make sure that Americans understand the importance and the value of the system. Now, in a few moments, we're going to be joined by Dr. Donna Christensen, who serves as a board member for CQC, as well as she's also a former Congresswoman, to talk to us about this. Now, as we have this conversation, folks, we would love for you to join us. So make sure you get ready to post your comments in the chat here on as we're streaming live on Facebook and of course on YouTube and also on Black Star Network. So without further ado, let us now welcome our very special guest for this first conversation, Dr. Donna Christensen. Good afternoon, Doc. How are you, ma'am?
Oh, great. Hi, Farajii. How are you?
I'm good. First and foremost, I thank you so much for spending time with us today to talk about healthcare, which is always can be talked about, right? In this country.
There's a lot going on. And I'm so glad that you're doing this, because what I wanted to talk about that CQC has been very involved in lately is very important to our population in particular.
So let's first talk, Doc, let's talk about, and the great thing about what you're bringing to the table today is that you are a doctor, but then you served in the legislative side as a former Congresswoman. So you understand the ins and outs of the system from various aspects. But first, let's talk about the work of CQC, Consumer Quality Care. What's the mission behind CQC?
CQC is the voice for the consumer and their concerns. So that's what we reach out to policymakers, legislators. We reach out to the community itself to find out what their concerns are, but and then be advocates for them on the issues that they're facing, whether it's access to health care or the costs, the out-of-pocket costs that are really challenging them, all of the concerns that they have.
So this is a consumer driven organization. This is like a lobby for the every man, every woman of the citizen.
Yes. We work very hard to make sure that their voices are heard and their concerns are heard and addressed.
So, Dr. Donna, when I went to the website for Consumer Quality Care, one of the big things, of course, is access to healthcare, and you understand this probably like more so than any other folk, because we just I don't want to say we came out of COVID, but COVID doesn't seem to be as threatening as it was, say, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Where are we in that situation, first and foremost? I know that there are some new I'm kind of keeping up when there are some new strains of COVID-19 that are popping up. There's some new cases that are popping up. But first, are we at a better place with dealing with this pandemic?
Well, I think we're at a better place because a lot of our community organizations have worked very hard to make sure that the access to vaccines, the access to medication, and information was made more available to our community than it was initially.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, we are seeing a slight increase again. I guess we're going to expect to see seasonal increases as time goes on. We're not totally free of COVID, but it's here. It seems as it's here to stay, and I hope that our community really pays attention to the nuances of the variations and really takes advantage of the vaccines and the treatments that are available.
Absolutely. Also, Dr. Donna, when we look at just the overall state of healthcare as a result of what COVID has done, some people are still saying that the healthcare system really hasn't adjusted too much, and it hasn't been as amenable to the concerns and to the interests of those of us who are part of the system. And I'm wondering, are you seeing that on your end as well? Is this still like a Herculean task to try to address all of the needs, the healthcare needs of a diverse population? Is this still a big problem for the system?
It is. It's a long-term problem. This problem has been with us since, I guess I could say, since we landed here. But so it's going to take some time, but I'm glad to see that there is more attention being paid, probably because of the work of some of our community organizations during the COVID epidemic period. And so there's more attention being paid, but there's a lot of things that need to still be done. And part of it is understanding that you cannot be healthy in an unhealthy situation. So it's much more than access to healthcare, which is extremely important, but it's also about the environment that you're living in. If you're in poverty, if the economic situation is terrible, if you're in a blighted community, if you're more at risk for the impact of climate change, if you're in housing that's substandard, if your educational system is not where it needs to be. And all of those things happen in a lot of the communities that we live in. And so all of that needs to be fixed for us to be really healthy, really experience our best health.
Okay, awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about this some of the big topics or the big issues that CQC has been focusing on. What are some of the big issues that we need to keep our eyes on here?
I'd like to spend some time talking about our hospital fail, because when you look at what this is about, you're going to really see that we're probably the most impacted. Black, Brown, American Indian, anyone who is below the poverty level or close to it. So Consumers for Quality Care has been doing a nonprofit hospital scorecard that spotlights hospital practices that are at odds with what the public expects and what the public should be getting. Nonprofit hospitals receive tax breaks in exchange for providing charity care and community benefits, but many nonprofit hospitals operate almost the same as for-profit hospitals, and some for-profit hospitals operate even better than some of the nonprofits, but by adopting policies that prioritize profits over patients. And when you look at the fact that these are requirements of nonprofit hospitals, they get huge tax breaks. And because of those huge tax breaks, they are required to provide assistance to individuals who have limited ability to pay for hospital care.
So when we say nonprofit hospitals, Dr. Donna, I don't think every and this might come as a surprise, because I mean it's not a part of the normal conversation to say, oh, I got this hospital in my city or my town or in my area. I wonder how they get their funding. So are you essentially saying that there are for-profit hospitals and nonprofit hospitals that are owned privately, and then there are hospitals that are kind of like a quasi?
They are given huge tax breaks, which are supposed to be used to improve the health of the community that they serve and provide access to healthcare, even when individuals living in those communities are unable to pay for their health care. That is the purpose of those tax breaks. And what the Lown Institute for Hospital Index has found, looking at 275 nonprofit hospitals, 227 of them that they looked at, or over 82% of them, spent less on the charity care and the community investment that they're supposed to do than the estimated value of their tax breaks. When they get and there are 7 states that we call that difference between what their tax breaks are and what they're supposed to pay to provide care, charity care, and invest in the community. We call that fair share deficits. And there's 7 states, California, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Massachusetts, where their fair share deficit is over $1 billion. So that means that they have over $1 billion in tax benefits that's supposed to be poured back into most of which is supposed to be poured back into the community.
And where does that money go, Doc?
It probably goes to salaries. It probably goes to things that those hospitals feel can bring them more income. It goes to some non-competitive, so, and they can fix it. These are not just asks. These are requirements by the IRS for those tax breaks. And there's not only can the hospitals fix it, because they know they are supposed to tell the community. And this is why programs like yours are so important, because the community doesn't know that if your hospital, first of all, check and see what hospitals are nonprofit in your community. But if it's a nonprofit hospital, you are entitled to some benefits if you are unable to pay. Some states, and all states should really do this, set criteria. So that one state that I spoke to a radio station in Washington State, if a person is under 300, their income is under 300% of poverty, they don't pay for hospital care at all.
Wow.
And others with a little higher income may have a lower bill, or the hospital is supposed to work with them on a reasonable payment plan that is reasonable for that person to really accomplish. And they are not supposed to go after them. And hospitals have been doing this with the cases that are supposed to be charity. They're not only sending them bills, but they're employing extraordinary collection practices.
So they're pretty much milking the people when they're supposed to be giving back.
Exactly.
This is crazy. Look, Doc, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to continue this part of the conversation, because I think, again, a lot of people don't know this. So this is very, very important information, especially in one of our online culture crew members, Lori. She said they just closed down 11 hospitals in the state of Indiana. And so
that's another problem altogether.
So we're talking about a mass problem here, a very, very big problem. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Donna Christensen of Consumer Quality Care, and of course with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black
black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We have been talking to Dr. Donna Christensen, who is a board member for Consumer Quality Care and a former U.S. Congresswoman, to talk to us about the access of healthcare, and more importantly, talking about the issues that the nonprofit hospitals have had to play. And more importantly than that, where the money is going when these hospitals are bringing in all of this money from your and our dollars, you're in our taxes, and yet still not investing in the communities that they're supposed to serve. Dr. Donna, we appreciate you so much for checking in again. I want to bring you back into the conversation here. When we're looking at the bigger picture, this nonprofit piece that CQC is moving forward on. How far along are we in this with this issue? Are we getting some traction and momentum?
I think so. We've done our hospital fill scorecards on about 9 states so far, all of which are filled. We've done Oregon, Washington, Illinois, New Jersey, Montana, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Indiana, and North Carolina. Many of those places where a lot of us are, North Carolina, New Jersey, Illinois. We still have more to do. And we need to, what we really are about right now is writing to our members of Congress in the states that we had done a scorecard on, and to others, also to state legislators, because there's a role that they must play to ensure that the nonprofit hospitals do what they are obligated to do to help our communities have access to healthcare without overburdening them with bills that they really cannot afford to pay. So we've written to legislators already. The state's role here is to set standards. I told you that Washington State has a standard that if your income is under 300% of poverty, you don't pay your hospital bill. It's paid for out of those tax break money that the hospital has. And so other states need to do the same thing. And they also need to have legislation that protects the consumer from being harassed and hounded and having really extreme collection practices coming after them, even in cases where they shouldn't have been built, period. So that's what the state legislators need to do. We do have one bill so far in the Congress that was introduced by a representative from Washington and one from Indiana that expands the Federal Trade Commission's antitrust enforcement to nonprofit hospitals. So they need some more oversight. And This is one way that we can provide some more oversight. But again, as we're here talking to you, it's important that our people, our public knows that if you're in a nonprofit hospital, and you can check and see which ones are in your community, that they are obligated to let the community know what the charity care is all about, that they must offer because of their huge tax breaks.
Right, their status.
And when you are in the hospital, before they can start any kind of billing and collection, they need to sit with, that hospital needs to have staff that sits with you to determine your eligibility for charity care and whether you pay any bill at all or whether you have a reduced cost or whether you do a plan. And those are not just nice things to do. Those are requirements for those nonprofit hospitals if they're going to continue to get their tax breaks.
So here's what Marcus Jackson, who checked in, he said hospital expenses have increased greatly, Dr. Donnas. He said the total expenses for Texas hospitals in 2022 cost over $33 billion more than before the pandemic.
Yes, and I don't know if he's talking about that's probably a mix of hospitals, whether they're nonprofit or profit. The cost has gone up. There's a lot of anti-competitive activity going on, mergers taking place, for example, which allows the hospitals to charge more because there's no competition in the area. And you mentioned the closing of hospitals, and they're closing in some of the areas that need it the most. And so people are forced, if they need healthcare, hospital care, to go to some of these big now merged hospitals that can jack up the prices. But if they're nonprofit, they still have to offer you that those particular advantages because of the taxes that they're not paying. They're supposed to use the taxes money that they're not paying to help you and to help your community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ming Lee, Natasha Surge. Ming Lee said, Dr. Donna, Hospital closing seems like a purge of some kind. There's always going to be sick people and others with ongoing health issues. Nurses was just on strike in New York City.
I remember seeing that, and hopefully that because we're now using more telehealth, we can reach more people who may not have access to get physically into a hospital. And we have ways through telehealth of monitoring your diabetes, your blood pressure, and so forth, and working with you even if we don't see you in person. But I think, I've gone through closures in hospitals, and when I was in Congress, they're really painful. They're really painful, and they happen in areas that can least afford to not have a hospital. So we're the ones that are hurt, and that's a major issue that I don't know how we're going to really address. But we're hoping that telehealth, and also Black physicians and Hispanic physicians and Indian physicians are very few when you look at the whole healthcare workforce. There's nurses also, hospital administrators also. And so we really need to increase our healthcare workforce of color. And that starts with having decent schools for our children to go into. And there are studies that show that our schools are grossly underfunded compared to schools that mainly have white students.
Let me add, we got a final.
There's so many things that have to happen, and we need to keep our eyes on all of it. You cannot be healthy if you don't have all of the rest of the supports to keep you that way.
Absolutely. Let me get, we got a final question. We got about 30 seconds for this one, Dr. Donna. Tiana said, can we get them to stop asking people how they're going to pay while waiting in the ER to be seen by a doctor?
All they should ask is if you have insurance, you don't have insurance, and that's all. Now, a nonprofit hospital must see you whether you can pay or not in an emergency room.
Right.
So if, they need to know if you have insurance, but if that's the only question they should really ask.
And I've heard horror stories of how some hospitals have actually turned away people because they don't have insurance. So it's like people are in a trick bag in some cases.
For-profit hospitals can do that. They should not do that. And we find sometimes that some of the for-profit hospitals do better than some of the nonprofit, but a nonprofit hospital, which behooves everyone to find which ones are those in your community and hold them accountable. But they cannot turn away someone coming for emergency care if they cannot pay. Your community health centers are other areas that are really there to make sure that everyone can have access to healthcare regardless of their ability to pay.
That's awesome. Dr. Donna, we know that folks can get more information about the work of CQC, consumers. And here's the website, folks, consumersforqualitycare.com. That's the website right there, .org, consumers for the number 4, qualitycare.org, consumer, the number 4, qualitycare.org. And you can find all of the latest news and information, open enrollment, and they can give you some information about some of the top issues that CQC is confronting right now as it relates to our health access. So it's a lot.
But we also try to help individuals maneuver through the healthcare system. It can be very difficult sometimes. Absolutely. Getting right insurance with the lesser copays. So we really try to work on that as well.
And folks, I would definitely encourage for you to find out which hospitals are nonprofits versus for-profits in your area. Dr. Donna Christensen, we truly, truly appreciate your time and giving us a little insight on how we can find some light at the end of this tunnel. So thank you for being with us here on The Culture.
We appreciate you having us on your show today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's bring you up to speed on the latest around the tragedy of Tyre Nichols. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to Culture here on the Black Star Network. Now, of course, we have certainly talked about this, and we went into a lot of detail yesterday about the Tyre Nichols case and the tragedy of that brutality against our brother. And I don't know about you folks, but I'm still in an emotional space around this case for so many levels. And last night I had a chance to reconnect with my big brother Richard Rowe. And we were just, I just wanted to thank him again, and along with brother David Miller, brother Michael and Hopetep, as well as Dr. Jason Nichols. And I talked to brother Richard about, just this overall case. And he was really focused on, he said that he truly appreciated how we were able to spend some time on this community healing piece. And the thing that kept going into my mind is what Brother Richard Rowe said when he said that we are not at a space for the psychological. We don't have the psychological fortitude at this time, because there are so many things that we are facing in this country as Black Americans, and so it made me think. And today I didn't want to just completely just move on from this case, because there are some new developments in this case that we wanted to bring you up to speed on, but also give you some more time to process this. If you are feeling like me, where you feel like you need to process all that has happened, and I don't think that it is healthy or helpful, beneficial for us to sweep these sentiments under the rug, especially in light of the fact that this case is still happening. Even though those first 5 officers were charged, then you have this new officer, this 6th officer, this white officer, who has not been charged yet. He was relieved of his duties and has been getting paid since he's been relieved of his duties. And now there is some conversation coming from the family's attorney, the Nichols family's attorney Ben Crump, is pointing out the fact, well, how come we're charging these Black officers, but it seems like this white officer who was responsible, who did play an active role in this whole situation, he is the one that is responsible for pulling Tyre Nichols out of the car. He is the one that can be heard on camera, on video, saying, I hope they stomp his ass. So he plays a huge role in this whole situation. And yet this officer Officer Preston Hemphill has not been formally charged, and he is the one that's been involved in this whole situation. Now, there has been a seventh officer whose name has not yet been disclosed, who has been relieved of duties as being connected to this case as well. But all of this adds to the sentiment. All of this eats away at what Brother Richard said, which is the psychological fortitude of us here in this country. And I know that we have a lot to do in terms of the legislative piece. And I'm so happy that my big brother, Brother Michael Imhotep, just pressed on why the George Floyd for Policing Act was so important. But I don't want to jump the gun on looking at where we are culturally, where we are psychologically. And we're going to have more conversations, God willing, on this show. I'm going to bring other folks to talk about this, because that is one of the, oftentimes, you find that is one of the big barriers. It's not that we don't want to move forward. It's not that we can't move forward. It's just, how do we move forward in a healthy way? So I wanted to take some time to just talk to you, and I want to hear your thoughts and share your comments. So post your comments in the chat section on YouTube and Facebook. And let's have just a little conversation about it, because we didn't get a lot of your comments yesterday. I know that I generally go out to my online culture crew, and I know I ask you guys, but there was so much being shared from our panelists yesterday that we weren't able to get everybody's comments in. But as you have, like I have been processing this, what has been your thoughts? What has been the situation now that we hear about this former officer, Preston Hemphill, now coming into the picture, the seventh officer? What has been your thoughts around this? I want you to join me in the conversation right now. Post your comments in the chat section. We're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook, and I would love to hear what you have to say. All right, Logan G32, you kicked us off on this part of the discussion. And I'm glad to hear from you. Sound like you are somebody that has been watching but hasn't posted yet. But I'm glad we were able to get your first posting out. You say every police officer and every policeman and all the people who was there when he was killed needs to be in jail for questioning. I don't know what the police knows right now. Absolutely. Absolutely, Logan. And I feel the same way. I feel like that we are in a space that we should know every single person that was present in that moment. Every single officer, whether it was the officer who just stood by, whether it was the person who pulled him out the car, who made when he was stopped initially. Y'all remember that he was stopped once, then he ran, and then once they caught up to him, that's when the brutality really started. It started when he stopped, but after he was able to run, it escalated to that point where he was beaten to death. So I'm right there with you, Logan. Thank you so much for posting. Lori, my sister, you checked back in. You said we're going through the same thing, and some of us are still not over the George Floyd case and all other similar cases. And that's why, that is really why, Lori, that I didn't want to gloss over this. That's why I didn't want to even talk about political action, because psychologically, I don't think we're all there yet. I know I'm not there. I'm not ready to lobby a congressperson. I'm not there, because culturally, folks, this is the culture. Culturally, there's still a few steps in between that, being inactive to becoming politically engaged. There are some cultural steps I think we need to make in order for us to get to that point, to create the buzz, generate the momentum, and to unify all of us on one accord to push whatever piece of legislation it is. It would be hard. You would be hard pressed to tell me that Black people in this country would not want to have a substantive policy around police-involved beatings, police-involved shootings, brutality cases against Black men and Black women. I think we all want that. But I think there's some steps on how to get there. Now, can we do two things at once? Absolutely. Absolutely. But do we have the political will to do two things at once? All right, let me go back. That's the question. Marcus, my guy, you checked back and you said, look, I also want to know the name of the 7th officer who was relieved of duty. You know what? Not only do I want to know his name, Marcus, but I also want to know what's his involvement. What was he doing? Remember, we brought this up in a conversation yesterday that out of all of these officers, no one had the presence of mind, folks. And this is, you know, the word that kept coming up to me as I was reflecting on yesterday's conversation. It was savage. There's a terminology, and some of you may, you know, studying social science and psychology, that you may have come across this idea of groupthink. You know, groupthink, when one person does something or when a group is involved in something, it's like your individual self is no longer present. And so you just go along with what the group does, what the group says, without even thinking about what is important for you as an individual or what's important in general. So you got this group think that is like 1, 2, 3, 4 cops are beating on this man. And I'm sure that these black men now, they're thinking about it like, I shouldn't have done this. I'm sure now, because they're getting charged and they're going through the process. But why didn't you have the presence of mind to do anything at the moment? Why didn't anyone stop at the moment? And I might be asking for too much here, folks, but that's the part that we need to key in on. And I know yesterday we talked about a systemic. I know we talked about the keeping the blue wall up. But as black men and as black women, we cannot, and I have to say this, folks, we cannot allow the institution, the agency to supersede who we are. No agency, no institution should have that much control to define or their values or their beliefs supersede your own personal values, your own personal beliefs, or you allow someone else's actions to supersede your own sense of rightness. That is absolutely crazy. And people fall every day to that level of thinking. We see it, we read about it, we hear about it. But that's the problem. All right, let me go to one more before we take our next pause. Michelle Ray, you say, I'm still trying to decompress from the tragic murder of Shanquella Robinson. Right. The healing process is constantly being challenged with one horrific incident after another, which is why, Michelle, I don't want us to sweep this under the rug. I think, you know, if any of you have gone to therapy, or if you have been in a space where you're allowed to express your emotions, you know, oftentimes you will hear the therapist say, feel your emotions. And I would have to say the same for us, that we all have to feel the pain, that we can't just go past this and say, oh, let's just do this, let's do that. No, I'm at a place in my life, I need to feel the pain of another human being. I need to feel the pain of that moment. I need to feel the pain of this moment that we're in, because it is that moment, it is this feeling that will draw us closer together, that will create the bond, not out of a trauma bonding space, but more out of a greater compassion and empathetic concern, an understanding. I need to feel what the Nichols family is feeling, because even though that may not have happened to me or any member of my family, that's my family. To feel it. So, Michelle, I appreciate you for saying that. McCole, you said, look, I keep hearing people say that more training is needed. Training is not the issue. Accountability is the issue, period. Right. What we saw with this new officer, this 6th officer, Preston Hemphill, this former officer, accountability. But I'm like Ben Crump, why are we shielding him? Why is he still getting paid? Why hasn't he already been charged? How does a person who was there, who was responsible for taking Tyre Nichols out of the car, just being dealt with, just feeling the brunt of the consequences? Come on. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to take more of your thoughts on this. I got another element of this that needs to be discussed, because there is full-blown blowback around this situation. Stay with us. This discussion will continue on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We have been talking about some of the latest developments in the great story of Tyre Nichols, the 29-year-old who was beaten to death by 5 black police officers, a 6th officer in Memphis, Tennessee. There has been a 6th officer, a white officer, that was just relieved of duties. He has not yet been charged as of yet, but there are big questions looming around his involvement and, more importantly, the consequences of his involvement. Because he was seen on video as being the one that pulled Tyre Nichols out of the car at the first stop, as well as making the comment, I hope they stomp his ass, on video. Now, folks are saying that former officer Preston Hemphill needs to be charged, just like those other officers were criminally charged. So we will see how this situation will play out. And again, there has been a 7th officer whose name has not been disclosed, but he has been identified as being on the scene, but we're not sure what the level of involvement is at this point. Now, along with that, folks, I don't know if you saw or read this story where they said that the EMS the EMS who were responsible for getting Tyre Nichols help. If you heard about the fact that they didn't show up on the scene for quite a while, and that also led to our brother losing his life because of the slow response to him and to the officers making the call. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that we pull it. I'm pulling up this information right now, and I want to get your thoughts on this, folks, because this goes to show you this is how far the system of racism, how far the system of white supremacy goes. That it not only infects one institution, it's a cancer that poisons every other institution that may be affiliated with it. That's how far the situation goes. We're going to pull up that information in a moment. And I want to get back to you, my online culture crew, to share your thoughts, because again, this is the time I just wanted to process this with you. I know there's going to be a long road ahead in terms of healing, but we do need to process this as a community and as a people and as a nation. Let's go back to Karen. Karen, you checked in. Karen, you said alleged evidence has surfaced, which could reclassify Brother Nichols' death as a premeditated murder. One of the officers' ex works at FedEx and was dating Brother Nichols. We need answers. Yeah, I'm reading that, and I know a couple of folks have sent me some information about that on social media. So I'm not quite sure. FedEx hasn't come out with any statement yet. So we haven't. I don't want to speak on a situation without getting some more information. But FedEx has not yet put out any statement, as far as we know. Brother Roland had called out FedEx via social media last night, and so there hasn't been any response to his call in terms of what FedEx is doing to substantiate that part of the story. So I don't know. I heard about that as well, but we don't know. Now, according to the reports, an ambulance was called. It arrived at 8:55 p.m., the statement said, and an emergency unit cared for Tyre Nichols and left for a hospital with him at 9:08. So that was 27 minutes after the officers, the paramedics Long, Sandridge, and Whitaker arrives, according to the officials. 27 minutes. 27 minutes, folks. 27 minutes. So that just goes to show you how long this situation is. And also has been reported that an investigation determined that all three violated multiple policies and protocols. The statement said, adding that their actions or inactions at the scene that night do not meet the expectations of the Memphis Fire Department. 27 minutes, 3 EMS paramedics on scene. They had to pay. No, let's make it bigger. Let's make it bigger, Keenan. You can take me out the frame. We can make. That's them. How does this happen, folks? 27 minutes. How did this happen? How did they wait so long? What were you doing? A man was on the ground. What was going on? What were you talking to the officers? Trying to figure out how you were going to tell a story? What were you doing? What the hell were you doing for 27 minutes? Did you give him any type of support, life support? If you didn't rush that man to the hospital, what were you doing? I'm just blown. You got officers who beat a man. Then the paramedics show up. And they don't help that man for minutes. That's why we got to process this. That's why we got to talk about this. That's why we have to have, and Michelle, I truly, truly appreciate you. You said that that you appreciate the fact that this show makes you feel like you have a safe space to feel these emotions. Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for making that point, because that's what we're trying to do. We can't just report it and not feel it. I would be lying to myself, and I get it. You know, there's certain bias, but come on, like I can't come to you as a black man and living in this country. We're all going through this thing and not show you some level of emotion around this. Why shouldn't I get mad? Why shouldn't we have a conversation? Why shouldn't we be able to express ourselves? Very, very important. So I appreciate all of you for tuning in for this part of the discussion. And I think that it's super important that we continue to have this discussion. But I wanted to bring you some updates. And again, we will certainly keep our eyes out on this process. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to switch gears. We're going to be checking in with Miss Jody Davis. You don't know who the name of Jody Davis is? Well, she is the stylist that styled the new First Lady of the state of Maryland. And she's also the stylist that got the attention of Ms. Oprah Winfrey. So we'll have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for tuning into The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, folks, we're going to switch gears and get into something a little bit lighter as we've been, of course, talking about some of these heavier issues. And again, folks, we thank you for just working with us, processing everything that's going on. It's important for the culture that we do that. Now, my very special guest, I'm very excited to talk to this sister. She is Baltimore-based. She has made her name for herself in the fashion and design world, but now she has really made a name for herself as she served as the official the celebrity fashion designer for the First Lady, the new First Lady for the state of Maryland, folks. There it is, Jody Davis Design. She posted history was made at the inauguration for I Am Westmore, now the first Black governor for the state of Maryland. And there is one of her celebrity clients, man. Oh man, I'm so happy to have joining us right now, our sister Jody Davis. Sister Jody, thank you so much for tuning in, for being with us here on the Culture on the Black Star Network. Good afternoon. We got her. There we go. She got her. All right, we're going to try to get her picture in, and Jody, we're going to try to get your picture on it. Folks, let me just tell you something very quickly, that Jody has been doing this work for a long time. And this is one of those stories that I truly, truly love, because sometimes you got to put in, there's an old saying, especially in business or any type of work, that you got to put in those at least 10,000 hours, right? And so when you're talking about putting in work for years and years, and then you get an opportunity, the old saying that success is part of preparation and then at the same time opportunity. You have to be ready. And that's one of the things about Jody Davis's story that I think is so, so important, that you should be ready for that big moment. And this, even though Jody has been doing fashion design work for years, she was given the opportunity to do something that caused her to be ready. And I'm very, very excited. We got our sister on. We got Jody on. Jody, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. There we go. How are you this afternoon, Jody?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I thank you. I know we got a few moments with you. And I know you've been extremely busy lately.
Listen, I'm thankful. I am excited. You never know when those opportunities present themselves, and voila.
Well, let's talk about this, because I love stories. I love your story. Because you've been doing this. This is not like, you first time. You've been doing this. You in Baltimore, you're doing your thing. And for the most part, people know you, but they, you're still kind of like under the radar a little bit.
Yes.
And then how did you get the opportunity to design and style the new First Lady of Maryland?
Well, the blessing is she has been a client of mine for some time, and then we talked about it. As the election was going on, I said to her, if the win comes, and we were pretty confident that it would, that we needed to talk about her look. And clearly, there were lots of designers that were reaching out to do the look for her, but she loves the way Jody dresses, fit her body and the style. So she reached out, and we had a consultation, and we decided on what the color would be, and then we determined the style. And so I got to work. I said if I had time to go to Milan or Paris to pick her fabric, I would have done so. But since timing was of the essence, I had to go right to my sources in New York and found what I was looking for, that beautiful winter white cashmere. And then she asked me if I would do the look for her, for their daughter, Mia. And I don't normally do things for the younger generation, but I was able to pull it off. And Mia has been considered the belle of the inauguration as well. So it was an awesome experience.
First of all, I want to go back to this video, Keenan, because look, and I know first I'm looking at, this is First Lady Dawn Moore of the new First Lady of Maryland, looking fantastic, looking fabulous. But then I'm looking at what you got on, Jody. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, Jody she ain't just, you don't just see, some raggedy t-shirt. You came through looking fabulous yourself. Is that something that you designed yourself?
Oh, thank you. I don't wear anybody else's clothes ever. So yes, everything I have on is a Jody piece. Yeah, I have to represent myself. My clients are coming to shop with Jody, so Jody always has on a Jody piece.
That's awesome. So you knew that when that time came, like, were you nervous? Like, did you already? I know you had a consultation with Dawn, but did you have something in mind that you kind of like inclined her to take a look at, or was her piece this white piece? And I don't know how to properly describe it, so I don't want to insult you. But how would you describe what you did for Dawn Moore?
It was a white winter white cape and a fitted dress underneath.
Okay.
And so Yeah, I was a little nervous, of course, when I made the sample. So I do it all. I make my first sample, I make the first pattern, I source the fabrics and all of those things. And when she came for the fitting, I was happy that we only needed to fit her one time, just make minor alterations or adjustments, and it was perfect. And then the week of the inauguration, we were pulling her looks together, and so I had to take it to her. And when I took the garment out of the bag, her eyes lit up. So that was an indication to me that she loved it. When she tried it on, she looked amazing.
Yes.
And so when I saw her the day of the inauguration, I just felt, and it did not really hit me until I got home that evening and I turned on the news. And as I turned on the news, I saw First Lady and Governor Moore walking down the steps. And I said, wow, she looks beautiful. And I'd say all the time, when I see clients in my pieces, it's as if I had nothing to do with it. Although I know I did the pattern, I did the sample, I sourced the materials and do all of that. It's as if I had nothing to do with it when I see the final piece completed.
So now when I look at and take a look at that, folks, that is Governor Westmore and his wife and their two beautiful children.
Yeah.
Jody, what's generally your inspiration for your pieces? Because I feel like this, and I feel like it's much more futuristic. It's not like your classic or traditional. Like you're trying to push the boundaries a little bit. So am I on the right page with that?
You are, and I often like to design, or I've been told by my clients, I like a woman to make a statement when entering a room without saying a word. So when you saw the First Lady, she didn't have to say one word. You just looked at her and saw the elegance, the sophistication, all of those things in that one look. So I just wanted to do something that would just be a timeless piece. Like this is a historic event. So this will be something that folks will be talking about from now until, who knows how long. And then even with their daughter, I felt really pleased and happy with the way that final look came together to make her look like a beautiful young lady in that beautiful blue, that powder blue, because blue is her favorite color.
Right. Now, talking about that piece, it was that piece that got the eye of another person.
It was, yes. And I will tell you, I heard about that video, but I didn't see it. It was 48 hours later before I saw the actual video. And when I saw the video, I was like, wow, what an awesome compliment from the woman herself, Miss Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey. And I'm going to tell my guy Keenan to pull that video of Oprah talking about you. So a couple of course, there's similarities. Oprah's connection to Baltimore, your connection to Baltimore is there.
Yes.
But Oprah saw something in your piece for her daughter, for Jody's, for Mia, for Don and Wes's daughter, and said, "I want a mature
version of that." Yes.
So when did you find out that Oprah wanted one of your designs?
I'm telling you, they told me almost immediately that they had that video, but they had to keep it under locks, like we can't show it to you and all that kind of stuff. And so it was really 48 hours later when I saw the video, and just the whole magnitude of it, it was just pretty darn awesome to have gotten that.
Did y'all cross paths on Inauguration Day?
We did not. I did see her coming to the State House, but we didn't, there was no personal connection. Right. But yeah, just to hear her mention Jody Davis like 5 times in that video was pretty darn awesome.
So the video, and I actually, because another friend of mine from the downtown Baltimore partnership, Shalonda Stokes, she posted a video on her social media.
Yes.
And I had posted it on my story on my social media.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Jody, you representing Baltimore.
Thank you. And Shalonda Stokes is one of my good clients as well.
And I could tell because she posted that beautiful red gown that you designed for her.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. And when I saw the video, I was like, see this right here, son. Like when you get an opportunity, you got to run with it. And I'll never forget what Oprah said. She said, I'm about to make this woman famous.
Wow.
Jody Davis. Because the person that holding the camera said, who's the name of the designer?
Yes.
And she said, Jody Davis. I'm about to make her famous.
Isn't that awesome?
I fell out. I say, Oprah Winfrey just name checked somebody. And now I know everybody and their grandmothers in your DMs.
Trying to get, yes, which is a blessing. But you know, the thing is, this is like, I always use that Ricky Martin statement that he's been a 20-year overnight success. So it did not just happen.
All right,
It's been,
I gotta play this. This is only a couple of seconds. Jody, just hold on to your fabric, sis. I know that this is still something that you're still processing. Folks, take a look at this piece from Oprah Winfrey.
First Lady and First Family's wardrobe. Well, I thought she was, actually, I asked who did the clothes. I mean, I'm going to be looking up Jody Davis. Jody Davis is here. So I'm the stylist and the designer is Jody Davis. Baltimore's own. Jody Davis's stuff. Jody, I got you. Jody, you did Mia's, and I love that little dress. Yes. And I would like a more sophisticated version of that for myself. We can make but I really love the way Dawn Moore, our First Lady, is looking, because it is sophisticated, it is elegant, it is classy. Yes, but it's also so now, you know, it's also so current. I mean, you can't even define what that is. I've never seen that look before. And the thing that's beautiful about it is she's able to define what that is for her. If she's wearing it, it's not wearing her. And who you doing this? I'm doing this.
I mean, that is like a confirmation of advertisement that you could not pay for anyway.
Oh no. Hey Jody, I would have that video running all throughout my whole studio.
Believe me, we are working on it. We are working on it.
So, have you had a chance to talk to Oprah since then?
Not yet, but it's coming.
It's definitely coming.
It's coming.
Coming.
I'm putting it in the universe. It's coming.
Oh, no, it's coming, sis. She already name checked you. It's coming. It's coming, and she know what she's doing. Look, Oprah's not stupid by any means. She knows exactly. And big shout out to her because I think she just celebrated her birthday yesterday.
Yep, she did. Happy birthday, Miss Winfrey.
Yes, ma'am. But you know, the fact that you're in this space, how you know, if for those future designers, for Black entrepreneurs like yourself, right? For people who have been doing the work kind of under the radar for years and always trying to figure out when is their breakthrough,
right?
What would you say to them?
I would say just keep perfecting your craft. That's the reality. I would not have had the opportunity to design for the First Lady had I not continued to perfect my craft. And folks know your product, know your brand, know the fit, know the quality, all of those things. So you want to, whatever it is that you're doing, just work to be the best at it and keep doing it. And at the appointed time, the opportunity will present itself. And as I say, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. And so I'm thankful. This has not been an overnight thing, but I'm thankful to be using my gifts and my talents to dress women, to make them feel elegant, to make them make a statement when they enter and exit a room without saying a word. And so happy to have had that that shout out from Miss Oprah Winfrey herself. It's awesome.
So first, you know, if you get an Oprah, it's only a matter of time before we see one of our finer queens as well, Queen Angela Bassett, Queen Viola Davis.
You're putting it out there. You're putting it in the universe. Yeah,
I'm putting it in the universe for you, Jody, because you are a beautiful sister from Baltimore. So I want nothing but love, and I want nothing but greatness and happiness for you. I mean, I'm seeing all of that. I'm seeing Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Yes,
First Lady Michelle Obama. It's only a matter of time because. And once you tap into that network, somebody, Oprah, where did you get Jody Davis?
You see, the name will start ringing. Exactly. Yes.
So as far as you know, though, at this point, are you still going to keep your business in Baltimore?
Oh, I am. But the goal has always been to not just be local, but national and global, to build this brand into a household name. And so working at it every single day. And so, you know, I'm here in Baltimore, but the Jody brand will be across the country.
Well, folks are checking in. My sister, you know, I'm in California in Los Angeles. Do you first and foremost, before I get to Karen said we need you in California, Jody, because she's in LA as well. So I'm in LA. So Jody, I need you. What about the designs for men?
Well, I will tell you that my honey he's a haberdasher. So he has a men's boutique, which is right around the corner from where I am. And so he handles the men's side.
We're going to have to talk offline, Jody. We have to talk offline.
Yes.
I got a couple of
and actually he did the look for the governor. So I did the first lady and he did the governor.
Y'all keeping it all in the family
We're keeping it in the family, yes. Which is awesome.
Well, I am just so happy, and I'm really so happy for you, sis. And I'm really, you know, just having the chance to just chat with you. When I heard your name and I heard about the impression that you've made, I was like, man, we got to find a way. And look at God, you know, it made the way for us to connect like this. But I am just very, very happy for you. I love see people winning. And I love the fact that, you know, you've been staying humble throughout this whole process, that you're like, look, I'm the stylist, I'm the designer. You know, I let my work speak for myself. You're not trying to, you know, FaceTime and, you know, you're not even in that space. You're just like, look, I'm going to let my work speak for me and y'all going to come to me.
Believe me, I am thankful. I'm telling you, I'm thankful to be the vessel to use the gift. So that's what I will say.
That's a blessing. Jody, what at this point, do you want to put out your social media? Do you want people to come to any type of online store, or how people can get in touch with getting, you know, purchasing any of your styles or your designs?
Yeah, so my website is jodydavis.com, and that's Jody with a Y. The boutique is at 110 West Saratoga in downtown Baltimore, but we have an online presence, and our social media is Jody Davis Designs or Jody Davis JD. And I always say Jody with a Y because people will oftentimes spell Jody with an I or an IE. So it's jodydavis.com.
Look, folks are checking in. DeAndre said, we need more Afrocentric couture and fashion. People of African descent have swag like no other. I want to see various levels of brands and types of clothing created by us. So I think you're falling right in your space. My sister Lana, she is going crazy over you, Jody. She says she is taking off in all seriousness. I love seeing this. This is how the culture works. She like, man, oh man. She's like, we're going too fast forward because this is exactly where she wants to see. So Lana, thank you so much. People are showing fire signs all over the place. People are showing hearts and clapping emojis. People are just loving what you're doing for the culture and how you're redefining how we look in various spaces. So, Jody, I only wish you the best. You always have a place here on the culture on the Black Star Network. If you say, Farajii, I just want us to talk about, you know, this coming up. If we got a fashion show, if we got a special exhibition, anything that you're doing, we support you 100%. All love. I mean, we just support you. But I'm definitely want to connect with your hubby. Your honey.
Okay, we can make that happen.
Look. I need a dope look.
I so appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. And believe you me, we will be reaching out to you in the future for things that are coming up because our community, listen, we need the support. We need the support of our own community. So look to hear from us in the very near future.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so good for the culture. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's check in with a filmmaker who's looking to redefine the conversation. Stay with us. It's the culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. For our final conversation, we wanted to check in with filmmaker Frederick Taylor to talk about the work that he's doing and why it's important for us to tell our story in the way he's telling it. Frederick, thank you so much for checking in with us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. How are you this afternoon?
Very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. First and foremost, brother, we know that you are doing some powerful work in the space of film. I want to kind of to pick your brain on something. There has been certainly a lot of conversation in Hollywood about, the value, the importance of Black actors and actresses, and the importance of us telling our story in Black film, right?
Sure.
Yes. In the larger conversation about diversity. What's your take on that part of the conversation? Should we continue to try to assimilate into that culture, or should we really work toward building something else, a different brand, a different platform for us to tell our story?
It's such a great question, and it's this question has been a part of our diaspora, since Marcus Garvey. Do we stay or do we go? Are we going to participate, or are we going to do our own thing and build our own thing? And in many instances, 100 years ago, when we were trying to build our own thing, they kept coming around and tearing it down. And then we developed this penchant for saying, okay, we're going to try to work with them. And then they started eliminating our leaders from the mix. And then we started spiraling out of control. And then all of a sudden, here we are back in the mode of servitude. And now 100 years later, we're asking ourselves the same questions. So to answer your question specifically and succinctly, the answer is we got to let them go. We need to go our own way. We need to go our own path as well. We need to build our own stuff. The difference between 100 years ago and now is that we do have protections under the law. You just can't do anything you want to do to someone of color anymore. There are repercussions that are there that were not around 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we had to stay on our side of the tracks. And when they came on our side of the tracks and did whatever to our people, our women, our children, and our communities and our men, we couldn't do anything. We had no recourse in the eyes of the law. That's what makes all of this great legislation that came across, in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, so important, all the way up to and including today, as far as, stuff that's been going down right now in real time with, the judicial system and law enforcement and voting and all this other stuff too. So we need to make our own way. It's similar to your network. Are we going to wait around and hope that, the CNNs, the Foxes, the MSNBCs are going to represent us properly, or are we going to just properly represent ourselves?
Yeah.
Right. We have to make that choice. Those are hard choices to make, but the sooner we make them, the better. I mean, we're looking at now, the 21st century is the first century that's our century in the Western Hemisphere. This is the first time that from jump, we get to assert ourselves as ourselves. 100 years ago, that wasn't the case. 1923, we didn't have too much. 100 years ago, 1923, my grandmother was born. Do you know what I mean? When you start to really think about it within that context, we're just getting started now.
And we got to cover a lot of ground. When you think about and like when you think about it in that context, Frederick, we're 100 years. That means that essentially you're in my generation.
Yeah.
We have to serve as the tipping point. We are the new axis of movement of change.
110%, without question. It is us. It has always been us. We are the generation that was predicted, that, you know, Marcus Garvey discussed, that Malcolm X discussed, Martin Luther King, so forth and so on, you know, through the Angela Davises and the Maya Angelos and things like that. They have dreamed us into existence. And now it is our job to make that dream come true. You know, they've been to the mountaintop, they saw it, they may not get there with us, but there is a promised land. Now, for the first time, here we go. So it's, what is your level of accountability and responsibility, you know, in the 21st century? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to be about?
Right.
You know, and we got to make the right decisions, you know.
And so, you know, one of the things that, you know, being one, I just love film. I went to school for acting and in high school in Baltimore. And one of the things that I'm seeing is there is this space that where we, like when we're telling stories about our people, our history.
Yes.
Like we know that there's a Hollywood version.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about the film Till that came out last in December, and you know, we see those stories. But then it's like when you talk about that part of our history from our perspective, our eyes, it's not getting the same level of interest. Not because of money, not because of promotion, but because of psychologically, it's a different story. And I don't know do you see our people being ready for those stories to be told in that manner? Are we ready for that?
No, because we're too busy seeking their attention. We want their approval. We want them to like us. We want them to be our friends. We want them to hang out with us. We want them to be our pals and our buddies. And we have to stop worrying about that. I was walking in 2016 to a Black Lives Matter march in Atlanta, Georgia, to film. And an older Black man asked me, "Hey, which way to the march?" And I said, "Oh, follow me, I'll take you there." And as we're walking, he says to me, "You know, I can't believe we're doing this all over again, the marches and all this other stuff." He said, "The first time around we did it, and the only thing we got out of it was the privilege of being able to hang out with them in nightclubs."
Wow.
He said that was the only thing we got out of it. He said, "We got ripped off." He's like, "We can party with them." He's like, "That's all that happened the first time around 50 years ago." Yeah, think about it like that.
So that was the big benefit 50 years ago.
50 years ago, just so we could drink out of the same water fountain, just so we could go get served in a restaurant, just so we could just eat at the same table or whatever. But no tangible rights that were going to carry us forward. There was no intention on their side of doing anything that was going to help us. You know, Jackie Robinson breaking into the major leagues in 1947 had nothing to do with them like saying, "Oh no, it's so wrong to keep African Americans out of sports." It was that, hey, if we don't let these African Americans into baseball, they're going to take baseball from us. You know, the Negro leagues are going to be a better league than the white leagues. That's why they, you know, let's get real with this, you know.
Damn. Like the way just by you saying that, it's like, it makes it seem so small.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We as Black people, we generalize this racism thing as like this big, huge monster or creature. It's like a Godzilla. It's not a Godzilla. It's a toxin. It's a noxious gas. It's a poison that you can't see. It's like a gas leak in your house. You know, it's a mosquito bite that kills you. We're coming at it all wrong.
And how do you
we're trying to slay the dragon when we need an anecdote. Sorry.
So how does film fit into disrupting that?
Film's the medicine. Film's the anecdote. When it's done right. Think about the first time you were watching the film Get Out, and it's Daniel Kaluuya, and he's sitting in that chair and he's talking to that therapist, and that therapist is getting all up in his head. And remember that scene, first time he sinks into that chair and falls into the abyss?
Right. The
What did you
sunken
feel
place.
in that moment?
Man, I was sinking with the brother, man.
Dude, okay. My point exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
I was
right. And then at the end of the movie, when he was choking her out, what were you thinking? When he was lying, when she was lying there on the ground?
I felt that pain, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt
That's
that
the first
pain,
time
man.
in Hollywood history that a black man had been greenlit to choke a white woman out on
film.
camera, on film. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the power of this. You know, the way that at the beginning of the film, you're disarmed because he's in this clandestine relationship with this super affectionate young lady, you know. And that's just the camouflage. That's just the MacGuffin. That's just sleight of hand. Distract you for a hot minute so he can tell the real story. Because the real story wasn't about them dating and going out and hanging out. Or that they're just this really lovely interracial couple that's in love. And he's going home for the weekend to meet her parents. Man, they were trying to steal his soul. Come on, man. That's what this is about.
So one of the big films that are out right now, you can answer this question or you can deny answering this question. You People, that's on Netflix right now.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to take a look at it, but
right.
I'm seeing some of the reviews and people are saying it's not what you think. It's not, from the writing to the intention behind the film, and I just wonder, as a filmmaker, when those type of films are brought to our people,
sure.
Is it helpful? Is it harmful? Like, what do they do in terms of bringing us into a higher consciousness of our history and ourselves?
Those films, like Till, are there to educate the status quo, the masses, not us. The term "you people," we've heard that all our lives.
Right.
You and I have heard the legend and the story of Emmett Till since we were young boys.
Yep.
That's old hat, dude. I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? What you're doing right now. You are a network anchor on a independent flagship rogue network in the digital universe. That's interesting to me. What are your trials and tribulations and what you're going through? Or what I go through or what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's interesting. Not the murder of a young boy in 1955 or a particular nifty catchphrase that's been around for generations. You people. That's old stuff, you know? And we got more things to do or better things to do with our time than to.
But doesn't it bring up the conversation though, Brother Frederick? Like, doesn't it generate us to have a conversation about race issues? About
Is it? Does it? I don't know. Has Till changed anything? Has You People really moved mountains? I don't think so. I think the Get Out did more. You know, I'm just using that as a quintessential example. You know, I even think 12 Years a Slave did more. I even think Moonlight did more. You know, Hidden Figures did more. Where we really changed the conversation. Like, hey, guess what? These Black women helped put people into space.
Right.
Stuff that people didn't think about, nor could they consider. They don't think of us as individuals that are capable of, contemplating, astrophysics. They don't think about us like that. Ever. You know, if you interviewed them and said, what does an astrophysicist look like? It's not us.
It's definitely not no Black woman from the South.
No, it's not. Exactly. You know, that's the woman that cooks and cleans. I mean, come on. Like, this is how they are. This is what they do. This is what they think. They are limited in their reach and scope. And so we don't have time anymore to ride on their bus, whether we're in the front of the bus or the back of the bus. We have to get off of the bus and get our own bus.
Let me do this, Fred. I got to take a final pause.
Yes.
I gotta continue this conversation. Hold on, we gotta continue because my online culture crew is feeling the whole vibe of the energy around this conversation. We're going to talk about some more things culturally, talk about some of the upcoming projects, and a whole lot more. Folks, stay with us. We're talking to filmmaker Frederick Taylor, and of course to you. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
There's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking to my brother Frederick Taylor, who is a filmmaker, and breaking it down, folks. Let's bring my brother back into the frame. Breaking it down, giving us some context on how to see film, how to see our struggle, and most importantly, how it impacts how we see ourselves. Frederick, I mean, this is the things that you're talking about, the cultural influences. And one of the big reasons why tomorrow we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary of having this show on this digital platform. And Roland has been doing this show on his show for years now, for 4 years. We just started our show last year, February the 1st. We're about to go into Black History Month. And, you know, when I reflect on just having a space to talk about the culture and all of the various nuances of our culture, you know, what can you speak to where you see us culturally in this country, whether it's Black America, white America, because there seems to be a lot of like, it seems like the culture just all over the place. You have Black American culture, but then you have this other like subculture of what's on social media. That includes Black Twitter and all of that stuff. And so it's like, can we truly define, or can we truly say that we have a culture? Or I don't know, brother. It just seems like sometimes it's just all over the place trying to figure us out here.
Absolutely. They've been torpedoing us since the moment they got us here. What did they do when they brought us here in chains off of a ship? They broke us apart. They split us up. You know, they sold us like property. They're still doing it. They're not physically selling us like property and breaking us up. They're doing it, metaphorically, psychologically, intellectually. They're pitting us against one another because it serves them. It's for profit. They make money off of us, off of our, discourse and disarray and our frustrations and our pain and our suffering and our sorrow. They make the film Till because it makes money. That's why they do it. They push a lot of our music that isn't in the best interest of our children and our women because it makes money. And
our culture is shaped by these things.
That. Come on. You grew up in it. You had to intellectually, emotionally, and psychologically fight your way through it. You know how many of my friends I've lost? How many of my friends are in jail? How many of my friends are on drugs, missing, whatever, because of that? And somehow I was able to maintain. And there's a part of me, I still don't even know why. And I'm thinking well, maybe it's because, I had a grandmother who was strong enough to be able to get herself out of the cotton fields of Memphis, Tennessee, and get a college education and send my mom and me to college. Maybe that's the reason. But then there's so many other people that look like me that didn't have my grandma. Do you know what I'm saying? And then they didn't have that other community around them to support them as individuals. The whole construct of blessing just goes to a whole nother level. And then we're criticized because we want to be spiritual beings in a world that is dominating us, that they are walking away from their spirituality or their fourth dimensional thinking. They get uncomfortable when we refer to ourselves as kings and queens. They get uncomfortable when, LeBron James speaks up for himself as a professional athlete. Those people still say Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. I say LeBron James is simply because he's trying to operate on a higher level of character and does interact with his community and tries to do something and community build. And I'm not saying that Jordan doesn't or didn't, but he was someone that very vocally said, I sell my shoes to conservatives as well. It's a different type of attitude.
Right.
Capitalism. We have to walk away from capitalism because capitalism is not us. We are a tribal people. If one of us falls, we all fall, and we lift each other up. That's how we get through. That's how we get by. We can't be them. And they could stand to be a little bit more like us than we are like them.
Right.
And they take the pieces of us that they want, and then the things that they don't, they just sort of categorically dispose of. And that's why me as a content maker, I'm always trying to present our whole image,
Right.
The complete picture,
And Brother Frederick, that's interesting that you say that, because I feel like those pieces that are taken, that's the content, that is the focus of the content that we see on social media.
Without a
Black
doubt.
life,
Yes.
Black culture,
yes,
is what's driving TikTok and Instagram, is what drives the content of social media. And this is coming from white content creators and Black content creators.
Dude, they've been hustling us for 100 years.
Yeah.
We are the first adopters for everything in America. Anything that jumps off in the African-American community has an 85% chance of jumping off in the community at large. That's why they test market everything with us. Whether we're talking about zoot suits, rock and roll, Walkmans, boom boxes, break dancing, hip hop, baggy jeans, it's us, man. They've been doing it to us forever. They've always been doing it to us. We invented popular music. There's a really great article written about Scott Joplin at the end of the 19th century when he was doing, the Entertainer and all this, ragtime stuff. And someone wrote an article. He was at the Chicago World's Fair in the late 1890s. And they said, the next great musical form was going to be Black music in the 20th century. It was predicted. They knew it. They just kept us out of the loop. They don't tell us. They don't inform us. But they're making money off of us. Do we own sports teams? No. If we did, would Colin Kaepernick have a job? Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then that young man that, Mr. Hamlin, who was almost killed playing football. you know, and how quickly that was forgotten, you know, and then how quickly there has been a debate on, do you think he's going to come back? Do you think he's ever going to play again?
No.
No. Do you think
No.
they knew that being struck in the chest at a high rate of speed could stop your heart? Do you think they've known that? Yeah, they have for a very long time. Did they say that to us? No. They don't want us to know the hazards of us participating in their industry, because you know what that's called? That's called slavery. You know, they didn't tell them, like, you know, working out in the fields all day long, you might die. And we did in exponential numbers. And the average lifespan of an NFL football player is 65 years. Did they tell you that? No. Do we have any other options? Rarely.
Right.
Rare, exactly. I remember how disappointed I was when I wasn't going to be 6'6" and I was only going to be 6 feet tall. And I was like, I got to pivot.
Hey, brother, you and I in the same boat.
Exactly.
I was like, damn, you got to be how tall?
Damn. We got to lift how much weight? We have to run a 4.40. Are you kidding me?
I got hands though, bro. I got hands.
You got to run through a brick wall.
Right.
You got to run through a brick wall.
You got to be a superhuman Mandingo style black man.
Right. That has been sort of categorically put into a mold over hundreds of years to create that person.
Wow.
You know, I've spent a lot of time in Africa. I go to Africa, everybody's like normal, you know? Only in America where I see athletes where I'm just like, that is the largest human being I've ever seen in my life. How does someone carry around that much muscle mass? That's insane.
Absolutely.
You know, and then I go to Kenya, everybody's like skinny and they're jogging. And they all eat vegetables and are very happy and enjoy dancing and play great music and go to the beach.
Wow.
You know, and are super pleasant, delightful people.
All right, so look, Brother Frederick, I only got a few moments left. I want to make sure that, and I really have enjoyed talking to you, brother.
This is great.
And so many of our online culture crew watchers, they're just like, brother speaking real truth. Michelle, you said this brother's talking real heavy. Take notes, y'all. Yup. Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle Ray. Conscious thought, my brother, you said we must get it together. And Ming Lee Natasha Sir said, look, Ming Lee said, I'm staying. It's time for us to regroup and come back with some strong MLK, Malcolm X, big energy. Yeah. Folks are staying in it. Here's the thing. I want people to kind of connect with you, Brother Frederick, because you got some projects coming up. Talk to us about some upcoming works.
Absolutely. I've got something that's currently on Amazon. It's called Pre-Existing Freedom. It's on the Discover Indie Network on Amazon. I am season 7, episode 5. It's called Pre-Existing Freedom, and it's all about talking about a lot of things that we've just talked about today within the context of unpacking them during the pandemic in 2020. There's another film on Amazon. It is called Counter History's Rock Hill, which is about a counter sit-in in 1961 in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That's also screened at the Cannes Film Festival as well. You can catch another piece on the PBS network called If Cities Could Dance Atlanta, and it's all about Black male dance culture in Atlanta. The innovators and creators of a style of dancing called J-setting, which came out of Jackson State as well. You know, and for those that don't know, Jackson State is one of our great HBCU institutions that is on par with what some of these other institutions that fought for social justice in the 1960s, you know, like your Berkeleys and your Kent States and stuff like that. That's what Jackson State was, where, you know, there were sit-ins with students and things like that, and the National Guard coming in and firing into dorm rooms, killing students who were just trying to protest. Jackson State is real. It's a real school on a real level, you know, beyond just the athletic part as well. And so they also, you know, they've they create art and culture there too.
Right.
You know,
right.
so those are some quick things that I do. I also have a network. It's called tomorrowpictures.tv. It is a curated network of not only my work, but other works that I find worthy of discussion as well in this same space as well. And then I have a company called tomorrowpictures.com, which serves the community at large, where we go out and we make content for other people, whether those are corporate clients or other communities that have come to us and said, hey, we want you to represent us. I'm going to be doing a documentary about the assimilation of Asian Americans in Atlanta, Georgia, specific the Burmese community of Myanmar. Myanmar sits adjacent to Thailand and Vietnam in Southeast Asia as well. And that's the other thing that we need to be reaching in those directions, my man. Instead of worrying about what white people think, we can take our bandwidth and assist others that are like us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much more we can do in Asia and in India and in, you know, Latin America that can uplift, you know, most of the planet. And we need to stop spending so much time worrying about what goes on in America because it's not for us. And it's only 320 million people.
Yeah, it is.
I can take 320 million people in Africa and put it on a postage stamp.
Wow.
Okay. Africa is the largest landmass on the planet. And we have all of the resources. And if you take the resources out of Africa, everybody's lights go off all over the planet.
Hey, brother Frederick, I gotta stop you right there, but I cannot wait to reconnect with you, brother, because you got a space here on the culture on Black Star Network. Is there really quickly? What's your social? How can people follow you?
Social is super easy. It is FR3DER1CK at FR3DER1CK. You can Google that, or you can go to the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram. It's all there. FR3DER1CK. It looks like a matrix kind of thing, alphanumeric kind of thing. So 21st century, dude. There it goes. There you go. Right there. FR3DER1CK. To the future, my friend. That is where we need to be. This is our century, the 21st century. This is our first century in the Western hemisphere that is ours for the taking.
I love it. Brother Frederick, I appreciate you, brother. And we'll certainly, God willing, reconnect with you very, very soon. Keep up the great work. I love the conversation. And thank you for being so good for the culture.
Anytime, my man. Anything you need, just let me know. Appreciate it.
Definitely will. Thank you. Folks, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank all of my fantastic guests. I certainly want to thank my crew. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure y'all do y'all due diligence and support us here on Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Support us financially. Support us by sharing the content. And, of course, download the app on all of your devices. And make sure that you tell your friends and family about the great work that we're doing as a Black digital media platform that is streaming right now on Amazon as well. So make sure y'all, if you have an Amazon Fire Stick, you can definitely access Black Star Network through your Fire Stick now. So big shout out to Amazon for taking the time and seeing the value of the importance of this of this digital platform. So you can now stream us live 24/7 on Amazon Fire TV. That's going to do it for me. You can follow me on all social media platforms at The Real Farajii on Instagram and Farajii on Twitter. And I would love to connect with you as we build the community. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening. Peace.